Hello, 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 everybody, and good evening. Happy Sunday to everyone. This is your host, Shadana, and welcome back to Chit Chat Podcast, where we chat all things women. And we have another episode. I'm so excited about today's episode because a few weeks ago we had our all men panel when we launched our 1 year anniversary episode, and we brought our all men panel back because it was one of our popular episodes throughout the year. And the men suggested that we do an all women episode, all women panel. And they wanted to switch roles. They wanted to be in the seats where they asked a question to the women and put them in the hot seats because they, we've all heard the cliche, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. So, there's always this, controversial topics and conversation about men don't understand women and women don't understand men. Well, guess what? We're going to put that to rest today because there's a lot of things that we need to talk about and to discuss and put it out on the table because, there's some things that women, got to clear the air about and the men got questions about today. And so we're going to give them an opportunity to put those questions on the table today. And the women are they up for the challenge today. They're ready to answer your questions. They're ready to respond and be ready. And look, men, bring the questions. It's your time. We challenge you to post your questions in the chat right now. So go ahead and post your questions in the chat. Jada's going to highlight your questions for our women. So once the women come on and introduce themselves, we ain't gonna wait. We're gonna let them come on and introduce themselves, and we're gonna dive right into it. But I want you guys to look. Nothing is off the table. Any question that you want to ask, I say ask. All I ask is that you be respectful. But nothing is off the table, guys. Ask your questions. These women are up for the challenge. But I do ask that you just be respectful. We do have a array of women from all ages. We got some young women, we got some middle-aged women, and we got some older seasoned women. So and I think we got a good array of women that can meet the needs of the questions that will be tested on today. So I'm excited. Thank you guys for joining. So chime in if you're checking in with us for Chit Chat Podcast for the first time. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Again, go ahead and check in and let us know where you're checking in from. Post your questions, guys, in the chat. We're ready to kick off with the questions for our women panel. I'm about to bring these women from backstage on so that way they can introduce themselves and you guys can shoot off your questions for these women, whatever you want to ask. If there's questions you just can't understand why women think this way, why in the world are these women doing this, that, or the other? Why are they thinking this way? Why can't women get this right? Why can't women do this, that, or the other? Let us know. Put those questions in the chat. We want to be able to answer those questions for you today. So thank you guys for checking in. Hey, Will Gunnins. Hey, my sis checking in. Yes, you guys check in. We're about to bring the women from backstage so they can introduce themselves. So without further ado, if you got questions, go ahead and post them in the chat and we'll make sure those questions get highlighted so that these women can start answering those questions after we go through introductions. So Jada, if you can go ahead and bring our women panel on so they can start introducing themselves. Hi, ladies.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, look at these beautiful faces. How are you guys?
Hi.
Fine. How are
got
you?
people checking in. We got people from San Antonio, Texas. We got people from Georgia. Hey, guys, checking in. Keep checking in, guys. As our panel members are chiming on and coming from backstage, we're going to have them introduce themselves And I just want to say thank you guys for being a part of our panel today. We do not take it lightly. This is our very first women panel because we've had our men panel twice and it was such a big hit. So since they suggested we have a women panel, you guys are the first. So you guys will be the legacy establishing a women panel. So we're gonna let you guys introduce yourself, give a quick bio of yourself and where you're broadcasting from, and then we'll go straight into our questions from the audience, from our men, what they got bringing from us. Okay, so we'll start with you, Tamika.
Hello, everyone. How are you out there? My name is Tamika Williams, and I am live from Savannah, Georgia.
And what do you do, Tamika?
Oh, I apologize. I am the executive director of a homeless shelter.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we're glad to have you.
Thank you.
Okay, Miss Rita, you're next.
Hello, everyone. My name's Rita Gwynn. I'm calling from Virginia, Portsmouth, Virginia, and I'm a retired accountable officer from the federal government.
Awesome. From the VA. I love it.
Yeah.
Welcome, Miss Rita. Thank you for joining us. Okay, Miss Jaleesa. You're muted. Try to click off Jaleesa and come back on. And we'll come back to you. Miss Vonda.
Hello, everybody. My name is Vonda Pierce. I'm in the Macon, Georgia area, and I am a scheduler for an optometrist. So I'm in the optical business.
Thank you, Miss Vonda. Welcome. We're glad to have you.
Thank you for the invite.
You're welcome. Miss Vicky. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Victory. I'm screaming from New York, and I'm a care coordinator in a home care agency.
Thank you. And let me tell you, I met Miss Victory. I was just on a trip to New York at an event, and she was sitting next to me at the event, and we got well acquainted and realized that we both do like podcasts. So we got each other information, started following each other. And then I said, well, I got to get you on my podcast. And then when I decided that we was having the women's podcast, I was like, well, would you be interested in being on the women's panel? And she was like, sure. And so I quickly booked her right next. She didn't realize it was going to be next weekend. So but she quickly obliged to it. So I appreciate you. And this was just last weekend. So that's how quick it was. So I really appreciate you. And that's how quick we got well acquainted just from that time spending at that event. So I really appreciate you for this. So thank you.
Same here, ma'am. Thanks for having me.
Yes. So we're back with Miss Jaleesa.
Can you hear me? Okay. So, hey, y'all. I'm Jaleesa. I'm streaming from Montgomery, Alabama right now. I am a senior at AUM, and I graduate in less than a month. I major in nursing, and I also have a small business. I tutor kids K through 12, and I help people get their GEDs. So, yeah, nice to meet y'all.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us. And last but not least, I have my co-host for today, Miss Tequila Toots. Thank you.
Hello.
For joining us.
Hi, ladies. Thanks for having me, Shadana.
You're welcome. And thank you for doing this with me. I enjoy having you on now. So it's good to have a co-host every once in a while to be, able to tag team with you. So thank you for doing this with me. So we're gonna shout out our listening audience real quick. I know that. Hey, Miss Van, I see you on here. How you doing? Hi, Tarisha, all the way from Texarkana, Texas, and Wendy from Georgia. Look, we're gonna go ahead and shoot some questions to get our panel members warmed up as the men get ready to shoot some questions in our chat. So Jada's gonna shoot a question. For you guys as the men prepare their questions. So Jada, if you can give us our first question. So as Jada's preparing that, hey, Peaches from San Antonio, Texas. Thank you for joining us. I love it. We got some Texas folks in the house. Texarkana, Texas, San Antonio, Texas. I love that. Georgia always representing. The GA and the VA representing today.
Yeah.
Okay, so our first question is, why do women say they want a man to be vulnerable, but sometimes seem to lose respect when he is? So who wants to dive in for that first question? Why do women say they want a man to be vulnerable, but sometimes seem to lose respect when he is?
I'll dive in. I think there should be levels to vulnerability. We want men to be vulnerable, meaning we want them to show emotion and to be sympathetic to our needs. But there is a certain level of vulnerability that a man needs to go to. So I think we need to not just say a man needs to be vulnerable, but we need to establish vulnerability levels 1 through 10. So I'll take a 3. But if you're crying when I'm crying and you're sensitive and you're watching the soap operas and a little bit sassy, then we have a problem. So, yeah.
Anyone else?
I think that a woman wants a man to be strong, say like run the household, but don't try to take over, give a woman equal, I wouldn't say power, but equal things that go on in the house. And I think a lot of women like a little thug in a man, a little to be strong and feel like she's being protected. But like the other young lady said, no one wants a man that's, too soft and crying with you or something. You want someone to be stronger than you do and feel protected, I think, but be able to show vulnerability as far as like understanding how you feel about some things.
Okay. Anyone else? Go ahead, Victory.
So, in regards to this question, what I have to say is to be vulnerable is not a bad thing. But for the woman requesting that from a man, she should be matured enough to, to create that space where the man can be vulnerable. Because if you're asking me to be vulnerable, I don't want to be vulnerable and then I later seem attacked by the same information I just gave to you. So I think it goes back to the woman and her emotional intelligence and maturity to handle the vulnerability of a man. So that's the woman's work to deal with. It has nothing to do with the man.
Okay. I like that. So you're saying it basically has to do with the maturity of the woman to be able to handle the capacity of the man's vulnerability.
Yes, ma'am, because she's the one requesting for it. So if you're
Okay.
requesting for a man to be safe with you,
Okay.
then you should be able to accommodate that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I think.
I like that, and I understand that. Okay. And we got a comment. Sometimes men don't understand the difference between vulnerability and the way it's projected. Okay.
I think sometimes the respect is lost when we have to ask for it. Like if I've made a request known to my husband, once I make it known as to how I need for him to be there for me, I feel like it should be automatic. Like he should know when to comfort me or when to console me or give me advice or just whatever it is I need for him in that area. Um, but if I got to keep asking for it, then the respect is lost because at that point I feel like he's not that into me. He's not listening to what I'm saying, and he's not providing me with what I need from him at that time.
And to piggyback off of what you said, I think that's true to a certain extent. I think when you're saying that he should be aware and be more observant or into you, I think that plays a lot with if they were raised in the house with their mother and the relationship with their mother. That plays a major part in a man being vulnerable and expressing themselves. Because if he was raised in a household with men aren't taught to be vulnerable. Sometimes being raised in a house with your mother, you can have a tendency to be too vulnerable or too sensitive. So I think it just depends on the upbringing. And that's why it's important when you're in that dating phase to get all that background information and pay attention to those clues. Because I think my husband is sensitive to me, but he can't always pick up on everything that I'm going through. And I don't want him to because I'm menopausal right now. So sometimes, hell, I don't even know what I'm going through. And that's a good thing. So if he reacted every time I had a hot flash or an emotion, we'd be in here fighting. But I think it just depends on the communication. And when you're really wanting that and they notice that what you're doing is how the man display his vulnerability. He can be vulnerable. No, I don't want a thug or a roughneck because I don't want to get beat up. But I want the man to know when I need him to be vulnerable, when I need him to be the man, and when I need him to just leave me the hell alone. That's just that. So yes, that is asking a lot of men, as women do, and we also expect them to be mind readers. But I think it just depends on each individual, the relationship, the person, and where they fit in and what we need at that moment. But I get your point in what you're saying.
Okay. Anybody else want to touch on that?
Yeah, I like to say something. When I said a thug, I didn't mean like getting beat up. I meant someone that's tough and protective. And it seems like I started a conversation when I said that. I didn't mean I wanted to be beat up. I didn't mean that.
Oh no, everybody have different perceptions. Everybody have different perception of
Right.
roughnecks. So yeah, we get it. We know you probably did beat it that way, but everybody have different perceptions of thug and roughneck. So
Right.
yeah. So, but I definitely get the you want your person to know you. And by knowing you, they understand those moments when you feel that, you need that extra, or you need that when you need that touch, or you need that.
Well, mostly I meant protection. A
Right.
woman wants to feel protected.
Right. When you
That's
need
what I
that
meant.
safe space or whatever that,
Right.
so those vulnerable moments or whatever, and that person should know you. So those moments should be known if you're in a relationship, and definitely if you're in a marriage, that person should know those moments. So I definitely agree with that. So I'm gonna read some of the comments before we get started in the next question. Brian said, "You don't want a thug, but a roughneck." And we got someone checking in from Phoenix City, Alabama. Hi, Marquetta from Phoenix City, Alabama. And Brian said, please. April Moss McGee said she agreed. I guess she was agreeing with someone's comment. There's a difference between a thug and a roughneck. A thug don't wear a suit, but a roughneck does. That's what Brian comment is. I agree with that. That's what Jada agreed. Pete Taylor says, I wear a suit. He said, I wear suits. So he's agreeing, saying he wears suits. So Pete, are you saying you wear suits as a what? A thug or a roughneck? Or are you just saying you wear suits? Clarify that for us. And Jada said, nah, auntie, I get it. He said, a man shouldn't have to be tough with his woman. Absolutely, Pete. We don't want you to be tough. We want you to be strong, but we don't need you to be tough. And Lakeitha Smith said, I get it. And Pete Taylor said, I wear a lot of suits. Pete, you own these suits. So we get it. You own these suits. You got to let us know what you do, Pete, because you own these suits. You definitely want us to know you wear these suits. So guys, go ahead and shoot your questions. Jada, what is our next question? He said, neither, but you can't judge a book by its cover. It could be a wolf in sheep clothing. Absolutely. We definitely have a lot of that going on, especially in the dating pools. Nowadays, we have a lot of sheep and wolf in sheep clothing. So we definitely can do that. So what is the best way for a man to support you when you're feeling emotional? So this should be good. Since Tamika was talking about she menopausal, so this should be a good one. With women, we are emotional beings, so this should be everybody should be able to chime in for this one. Women. Right. So who's first? What's the best way for a man to support you when you're feeling emotional?
Money.
So who likes retail therapy to my money? Look, that's my kind of thing, but I wasn't gonna say it.
I'll say it for us. Money, a trip, retail therapy.
Look, Sean,
I'll
give me the money. What's that he said?
Okay.
Who else? Who got something else? What's the best way a man can support you when you're feeling emotional? Stay away. Okay.
For me, I think it's based on the situation,
Okay.
that's making you emotional. That way is more aware and informed on how we can be able to support you. Because sometimes they don't know. They're not magicians. You have to communicate that. So that's where communication comes in.
Absolutely. And April Moss McGee said, notice that there's a change in my mood and to adjust accordingly. I agree. Notice that there's a change in me. And then, inquire. Hey, babe, I noticed there's a change in, what's going on. Inquire what's going on. Those kind of things are important. When they're inquiring what's going on, why is your mood changing? Why are you emotional? Those things are important. It's the little things.
Right.
The little things. So anybody else? Brian Jones said, give her space with some money. Brian, you gonna win something over with that now. Like, here, get some money, go on about your business, go on and have some retail therapy. Brina Care says, a man's presence alone can provide strength, comfort, and reassurance. Sometimes simply being there, listening, standing by, or sharing the moment speaks louder than words or actions ever could. Now, girl, you're gonna make me cry reading that. Absolutely.
Yes.
Because, all of that alone will speak volumes.
Right.
All of that alone would speak volumes. So I wish I can like that 1,000 times.
Right.
Yeah, that says it right there. That would sum it up for me.
Yep.
Anybody else? Okay. Next question. Well, we got to wait on Jada to type it in. Tequila, you mighty quiet. I need you to chime in. Can she hear me? Tequila. Is she still on? Or is she frozen?
I think she's
Okay.
frozen.
Okay. Maybe she'll come back on here in a minute. Okay, why do women expect men to just know what's wrong instead of saying it? So communication here. This is a big thing. Communication. So
Yeah.
that was my opening when I said men are from Mars and women are from Venus. You know, we hear that a lot when we're talking about how women and men think, how they communicate, how they deal. You know, how they we're on two different spectrums when it comes to communication, how we think, how we perceive things. So why do women expect men to just know what's wrong instead of just saying it? So what do you guys think? Miss Vonda?
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me know what you think. I know you've been married for a while, so.
Well, I feel like if you're in a relationship and you have effective communication, and I just feel like he should be observant.
Right.
Notice the change in me. If I'm not my normal self, like some things are just self-explanatory, body language, changing your mood, your mindset. If the conversation is short or the answers are short, like it's a combination of a lot of things. Intimacy, lack of it, it's a lot of things. I've been married so long, so
Okay, so do
I've
you
been married
feel
too long.
do you
so.
feel like just because we have those those things going on, do it give us the indication that we shouldn't communicate just because we're going through those things, that we shouldn't speak up or communicate?
No, we should always communicate. Like, because sometimes out of the blue, I just ask my husband, like, "What's on your mind?" Because I know his body language. Whenever he starts rubbing his head, I know that he has something, that's on his mind, and I just ask him, is it something that you want to talk about, or what can I do? Like, it's just something as simple as that. Because I'm looking, I'm paying attention. I know the small things about him, and I feel like it should be the same. Although it's not always the same, just notice some of the little things about me.
Okay. See, I'm one of those ones I think I'm an over communicator. I think I might over communicate. Like, we gonna talk about it. Like, don't tell me, I'm not the type of person when you say, well, we'll talk about it, or we'll talk about it later. I can't wait till later. We got to talk about it right now, because I'm one of those ones, like, it has to be discussed like now. Like, when it's festering in me, I have to communicate. I'm an over communicator, because I'm gonna analyze to the depth of the situation, because it's gonna burn me. So I'm a communicator by nature. So I need to communicate. So when I don't have communication, that irks me when I don't have communication. So if I have a person that don't communicate with me, it bothers me. Anyone else?
Yeah, I feel the same way you do. If something's bothering me, I don't even wait for him to ask. I can't, like you said, something in me that's burning and yearning for me to say what's wrong. Can we talk about it, to communicate to the person that, um, with, in my case, to my husband, that I didn't like this, or we should do this together, or, I'm like you, I like to communicate about if something's bothering me. And sometimes, like the other young lady said, you should tell by the way my body language is, or
Mhm.
how I'm acting differently. And let's just, you know, be able to, if you've been together a while, they should be able to tell a difference in how you're feeling at that moment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to read Brian. Brian said, now those are facts. Communication is the key. We definitely can't read y'all minds. Talk to me and let me know what I need to do and don't do. So that's coming from a man. Another comment says, I feel like sometimes they know what's wrong, but I shouldn't have to say it because now you're irritating me. That's coming from a woman. Now, if you know what bothers me and you do it and then ask me what's wrong, why do I have to constantly explain myself? Again, coming from a woman. No, because the longer I wait, the more emotional I get. A woman again, because you know that we're emotional beings. Brian also says, once you explain it, it either he is going to do what's right or he isn't listening and do what's wrong. You got to pay attention to
That's
that
it.
woman. Absolutely, Brian. Wendy said, the longer you wait, the more the mind wanders. And if you study long, you study wrong. Absolutely, sis. Carmen Taylor Jr. said, my husband usually can tell when there is something wrong. It's up to me to communicate to him exactly what the problem is. It sometimes take a little longer because I have to make sure I use the right words to communicate the issue to him. And you said something very important, Carmen, because sometimes we don't use the right words to communicate and we don't say the right things in the right moments. I'm guilty of that oftentimes because I want to have that conversation right now, and right now may not be the great time because the attitude ain't right, the temperature ain't right. I hear that all the time. The temperature ain't right. And so that may not be the right time to communicate or to have that conversation. And but I be wanting to have it right then there and at that moment. And so you said that's very important to make sure that we know. I have to make sure I use the right words to communicate the issue to him, because sometimes we don't use the right words and it can come off the wrong way, and then we push men away from communicating when we say the wrong things at the wrong time.
Right.
So Cheryl said, your words are the most powerful tool you have, but like a sword with two edges, your words can create the most beautiful dream, or words can destroy everything around you. That's my sister. She gonna tell it. Absolutely, sis. Now you're right, Shan. Sometimes you just have to pause and think and get it right. Yep. And when you don't get it right, you got to go back and make it right. Apologize.
Yeah.
And I've had to do that. So anybody else want to chime in? Tequila, since you're back.
So yeah, Carmen mentioned that it usually takes her longer to communicate things because she wants to make sure that she's using the right words. I think that that's very important for us as women, to do when we're expressing ourselves and trying to make sure that we are being heard. Men say they want communication, but the flip side, to the men, a lot of, in the forefront of what she said, she also said that my husband usually knows when something is wrong with me. Now, that's initiative on his part, to pay attention to his woman. And so if you're paying attention to your woman, there's gonna be, less that she needs to say because you are attentive to her, therefore attentive to her needs. and able to respond effectively, therefore rising to the occasion. And so she has to say less. And so with regard to what Jada said, that's the reason for the irritation. Because why am I communicating something that you should already know? Because if you're paying attention to me, then it's right here in your face. And so yeah, it's important for us to, communicate our needs.
Right.
Great explanation of that. Great explanation of that. Anybody else want to chime in before we go to the next question? Jada, go ahead and get our next question ready. Brian said 100% correct, Shan. As men, we have to pay attention. Yeah, absolutely. And we do. And then, when both parties don't get it right, we need to make it right. Like my sister said, when we use words that destroy, the things around us, when we say and do in moments that that wasn't right to effectively communicate, we need to make those moments right. And so, and we need to be mature enough to do that. So, and not prideful, because we can be that way sometimes. I've been that way plenty of times and tried to justify it. So, okay. So, do women really prefer a man who leads? And what does leading look like to you? I love this question. So women, we know that some women hate that word, that S word. They feel like it's a cuss word, submission, especially as we get to the point of getting to the marriage, the matrimony parts. Women feel like, I don't have a problem with, submission, but there are some women who definitely do have a problem with submission. So, do you really prefer a man who leads, even if you're in a position where, you might, make more money, or you might be in a position where you're a better provider, a better communicator, or whatever the case may be? Do you really prefer a man who leads, and what does leading look like to you? So, ladies, present your answers. Miss Jaleesa, I need to hear from this young
I was
person.
just gonna say something.
Yeah, I
That's
need to
crazy
hear
you
from
called
a
me out.
Gen Z person.
That
Let's
is
go.
crazy you called me out. But yeah, I was gonna say, actually I do prefer someone who leads. And I feel like Gen Z or me feels like a man who leads is a man who could tell me when I'm wrong, because I don't want a yes man. I prefer a man who can effectively communicate his emotions as well as read mine. And as far when we say leading, as women, I know as black women, we have a role to play when it comes to, I guess, our everyday lives. Like we have to walk a certain way, we have to talk a certain way, we have to behave a certain way. So to begin with, we set a standard for leading, but we do expect more from our black men, given that we already have to put on the face when we walk outside. So I feel like that leading part from a man is very important. Like you have to be above you gotta be above me. You gotta be doing it better than me. Your face gotta look better than my makeup on, if you get what I'm saying. So yeah.
I like it. Thank you, Gen Z. Any other?
Well, yes. Um, Women likes men that lead, at least, women that are in the right state of mind. Sorry to put it that way. Um, One is the structured as ordained by God. A man is the leader of the home. So there's no argument about that. And now what leadership looks like to a woman, it's basically customized to that woman. She, like what she said, right? She has a picture of what leadership looks to her from a man, or what she's expecting from a man. And then, but for me, I think leadership is more of submission, in the sense that For a man to lead effectively and for me to be able to follow his leadership, um, he should have a vision and a mission for me to be able to submit to. And of course, it should be led by God, because this is a lifetime, right? We're talking about. I don't want to go to, or I don't want to submit to a leadership that has no direction, stability. You know, your decisions are always putting us in a tight corner. And I'm also scared, like, okay, for me and also my kids. So, I should be able to trust your leadership, both in decision making, including me, even in your decision making. Of course, I'm not diminishing your strength as a man, but just having that partnership. You know, I just want to have this conversation before I go ahead to do it. That's leadership right there. I'm even learning from you, because if I'm not able to do that in my, now I'm like, okay, just based on your example, I can actually be a good leader even out there. You know, so it's leading by example, you know, in a good way. And your children also benefit just looking at how you lead. So it doesn't have to be a mean type of, it could be an emotional, like he has a very strong emotional intelligence. It could be in the way he speaks and carries himself as a man, as a king. It could be in the place of business, the way he handles things outside the home. I think there are diversities to this thing called, you know, when men are required to lead. So it all depends on you as a woman.
Thank you. Thank you. We got some comments in the audience. Brian said, now this is a good question because every woman has a difference in how they want their man to lead. So explain what you want first and give that man a chance to lead in your eyes.
Yes.
Marquetta says, yes, we do want a man to lead. Leading to me looks like the man making decisions and involving me if needed. He must be led by God, though. Jada said, I know that's real. Leadership, yes, it's a difference. Brian Jones says, again, that man needs to know what leadership is in your eyes because all women are different. And Brina Care says, I really value having a partner who leads, and I want to make sure we're on the same page about what that looks like. It's not just about agreeing with what I'm saying, but also feeling confident and intentional about stepping into that role.
Yes.
Evangeline Stokes said, if he handling all the bills, I can see that. But if he's not providing for me, no. Yes. Okay. So any other ladies on the panel want to chime in on that?
I think that leadership for a lot of women look like pretty much the same as what we identify with as leadership, on our jobs. It's the person who sets the example of what our, relationship dynamic, or whether it's family unit, what it's supposed to look like, how we're supposed to operate as a unit. Um, so that's in terms of, decision making, how you carry yourself, you know, um, just, how you move as a person, as an individual, the way you act, the way you think, the way you behave, as a man, as a man, don't expect for your woman to behave, better than you do if you're the leader. So you set the stage for, the course of events, and she'll likely follow that. So, that's how, at least I look at, leadership
Leadership.
from a man.
I agree. I think to chime in on that, a lot of times we hear men saying, I want peace, you know, and you're saying I want peace, but you're not providing peace to that woman or that relationship or that marriage. So how you're expecting, you know, to ask for something that you're not providing. You're bringing hell to the household or to the relationship or to the marriage, and you're asking her to be your peace, but you're providing her, hell, or whatever. So I get what you're saying. If you're going to be the leader, you got to lead by example. You got to be that foundation, that example, or whatever. And another way I look at leadership when it comes to that example is the foundation of the Bible as well. If I'm going to be submitting to a man, when it comes to that aspect, I need to know what your vision is and what your mission is.
Yes.
Because submission means under a mission. So I need to know where we're going and what we about to do. And I'm not about to go nowhere and do nothing that ain't leading us nowhere. And so and a lot of people be like, well, I bring all this and this to the table. Yeah, I do that too. But at the end of the day, I don't want both of us bringing the same thing to the table. So, maybe you don't need everything that I bring to the table. What you got to the table, I might need to bring something additional. So what you don't have, let me provide what you don't have, because I feel like I can do that. So, that's the kind of thing that I feel like what leadership is. If you're showing me what your mission and your vision is, then I'm going to show you the additional what I can do up under your mission and your vision. So, but you got to set that example.
I agree with you on that, Shan. I always look at it as growth, because I hear a lot of women say they want a man to lead. And I'm like, girl, he's straight out his mama house. He can't lead himself. He's straight out of prison. Look at his credit score. He's jumping from job to job to job. He can't lead himself. So where is he going to lead you to? So I think we all want a man to lead, but you also have to look at the direction in which that man is going.
Yeah.
We so quick to say, oh, I have a man, I'm in a relationship after 6 months, and you're following him, and now you look like him, like y'all both about to be homeless and sleeping in a car. So I think it godly first. He has to have a relationship with God, because I think any man that has a strong belief in his faith and a strong relationship with God is a strong man. And he has some direction, whether it's just getting up every Sunday morning, going to church and worshiping God. He has a relationship with himself. His faith is strong. Secondly, what has this man accomplished in the past 90 days, 180 days? Ask him about his goals, long-term, short-term. What has he accomplished? What does his vision board look like? That's how you can determine if that's what you want. If you're in a relationship already or you're married, then you know. But if you're out here dating, it's important to ask those questions, because everyone's not a leader. We may want a man to lead, but everyone's not capable of leading. So, but that's a whole nother conversation. But I think we need to be honest about the situation. Someone fresh out of prison, he may be nice, he may be cute, and the gray sweatpants may be sexy, but he's not a leader. So I think it just depends on the individual. And as women, we have to say, is this man godly? Yes. But look at the decisions he has made. Talk to his baby mama. Talk to his kids. Does he have a good relationship with them? What was his ex-wife say about them? Why are they divorced? Is he a leader? So I look at the whole picture, everything. That's just my scope.
Absolutely. Going to the comments. Rob the Great says a lot of confusion. What is the confusion, Rob the Great? Clarify that. Cheryl McClendon says, a man who is a leader understands his role as God desire. God give discernment if you want to be the best leader in your relationship. Brian Jones says, okay, I heard what you said about your job, but all bosses and managers don't know how to lead. I'm an ex-military. I know how to lead, but working for some managers or bosses who don't know how to lead is frustrating. I value as a leader, not a manager, if you know what I mean. Women have moved away from traditional roles or traditions. The modern woman wants to lead and blame the man if he's not. Okay, Rob the Great. Women have moved away from traditional roles. When you say traditional roles or traditions, you mean like work, career, What is that? Or you mean like, as far as you said, modern woman wants to lead and blame the men? Clarify that as well. Jada says speak. So, yeah, we want to, clarify what is a modern woman. So women have moved away from traditional roles or traditions, and the modern woman wants to lead and blame the man if he's not. So we need you to clarify that, Rob, the Great 54. So
I wanted to clarify too, Shadonna, for Brian. You're right, Brian. I agree with you. To clarify what I was saying about, you know, we, men leading, for example, the same as in the workplace, that's the expectation. We expect that in leadership. We expect, the example to be set, and will follow your leadership when you're leading by example. And so just because you're in that role, no, every man that's in a leadership role is not fit to lead. The same as the young lady was saying, earlier, they're not fit to lead, but that just makes them a horrible leader. And that's the reason why, if women follow that lead, then it's not probably gonna take them in a good direction together. The same as when you're on your job and you have horrible bosses, then the mission is usually not accomplished. So that's the expectation, is that, we have men that are leaders in their roles. And those are the type of men that we want to follow, is the ones that are actually leading.
thank you for clarifying that. So Brian, did you get that clarification? Jada said, because somebody has a specific in your life, don't expect anything. Specific in your life, don't expect anything. That's where the frustration comes in. Let them show you how they handle that position. I'm not sure what that means, Jada. What was that? Specific role? Okay. April Moss McGee said, women have moved away from the traditional roles because modern men no longer step up as being leaders. Amen to that. Great response. Yeah. I think I seen a meme on Facebook or somewhere on social media where somebody was trying to reference how women are no longer, in traditional roles or something, talking about modern women are no longer in traditional roles. And somebody kind of gave reference to that, saying modern men are no longer like our grandpas and our grandfathers. They're no longer being providers. They want to do this 50-50 stuff now. They want to do prenups and 50-50 stuff. And who does that? My grandma and my grandpa and my grandfathers and stuff never even thought about no prenup. They was providers. Took care of the whole household, and sometimes took care of their children's households, outside of their household, and took care of their grandkids too. So we got, our modern men can't expect modern women to be traditional women when they're not being traditional men. So Elon has programmable robots coming soon. Oh, okay. Now you can't answer the question. We get it. So, yeah. just like a guy. Yeah. So, but that's what it is. The men want us to be back in the traditional roles, but they're not looking to be back in the traditional roles. And if it's not going to work both ways, then look, you can't expect us to go back when you're not willing to go back. If you're in positions now where you're saying we want everything to be 50-50 now, because you guys are in positions now where y'all are running businesses, y'all are CEOs, and y'all are this, that, and the other. So now we can do this 50-50 thing, or I want you to sign prenups and all this kind of stuff now. If we're doing that now at the modern day level, then you can't expect me to be in a traditional role if you're not being a total provider. So conversations like that have to be had. So But if we're going to talk about, our submission and where we want to have our vision and set our foundation, those conversations has to be had. And you got to know who you're dealing with and who you're with. So that's why it's important when you're dating people. I always bring this up with Pastor Paul, my pastor back in Georgia. He always say dating requires getting data. So when you dating people, it requires you getting data, knowing what they about, how they think, everything, because it's important. So that way you ain't set up for failure. You ain't marrying somebody and then you be like, oh, I ain't know this, this joker like this, or I know this joker was, he voted this kind of way and all this kind of stuff. So, you got to make sure you guys on an equal playing field. So, dating requires getting data. So you got to make sure you find this stuff out early, so you're not hit across the head later. So April Moss McGee says, speak. Absolutely. Brian Jones says 50-50 is not okay in my mind. As a man, it's an honor to provide for my family and do what's right for my spouse or family. Absolutely. I love the fact that my daddy did that. I always said that I'm going to marry somebody who's just like my daddy, who was always a provider. My dad had a whole bunch of kids now, but he always was a provider. So, Lakeitha Smith said, we are not in a traditional world anymore. Absolutely not.
Things have changed.
We are not. Everything evolves. People evolve. The world has evolved. So, things have changed. And so when things have changed, people change. And so our thinking has to change as well. So Rob the Great 54 credit report. What that's supposed to mean, Rob the Great? I think you just going all over the place now. Let us know what you're talking about, Rob the Great, because I think you're getting all off course now. But everything evolves. So when everything evolves, we got to be ready to have these conversations when we're linking up with people, and especially when it comes to the point of us, trying to have that long term or that commitment for marriage.
Right.
So Jada, we got one more question. Okay. Jada said people try to use traditional as an excuse to think they can do whatever they want as long as they provide. Absolutely. I think people do. How do women rebuild trust after it's broken? I don't know if any of you had to be put in this situation, but how do women rebuild trust after it's broken? I don't know if you dealt with that, but if you ever had to deal with that, how have you rebuilt trust after it's been broken?
Day by day, you take one day at a time. You take one day at a time. That's it. You take one day at a time. There's always triggers, but you take one day at a time, just like you do anything else. Just like whether it be a spouse, best friend, or family member, it's the same hurt because it's the same feelings or emotions involved if you care about that person or the person is close enough to you. So you pray about it and you take one day at a time. That's it.
And if you're choosing to stay in the relationship after the trust is broken, you have to learn to grow through the situation that caused the breakdown in the trust. Whenever you get upset, have a spat or whatever, don't go back and bring it up, because that reopens the wound. So you have to, when you commit to rebuilding the trust, you have to move forward as well, day by day.
So when you forgive, you got to just forgive and let it stay there. Don't bring it back up. I've heard that. Okay. Anyone else? Wendy Hall said, woo child. That's a question, right, Wendy? Thad Brown says 50-50 mindset is not natural. I guess he mean the proportion changes as life situations change. Rod the Great, 54 says, get over it. What do you mean get over it? Are you talking about the current question, Rob the Great?
I think so.
Oh. Anyone else want to chime in? Oh, what's the next one? Oh, April Moss McGee says, have to forgive and try to forget. Ooh.
Try to forget.
Okay. Rod the Great, 54 said yes. Oh, on the current thing. Okay. Wendy Hogg Henderson says, yes, Tamika, prayer and one day at a time. Let the past be the past and not let it determine the future. In order to move forward, you have to forgive because that's where your healing comes from. Lord of mercy. Whew. Yeah, okay. I'm chewing this, y'all. I'm chewing this. I'm chewing it. Y'all see, I haven't gave any input on this one.
I know how you feel.
I haven't
hard
gave any
to
input on this one.
it's hard to do both,
Yeah.
forgive. It depends on, and especially when it depends on what you've been hurt by. Sometimes it's so deep and stuff is just gonna take some time to forget and forgive. Because I feel like if you forgive, it seems like sometimes they just don't go together. It's hard to forgive.
I
Because
agree.
it's hard to forget, because sometimes it's hard to forget. And so
I think we're human, so we'll never fully forget. But someone had mentioned earlier about the healing part. So with healing, I think each time, like Tamika said, when a trigger comes. So it's like each time a trigger comes, the less that it hurt, I think that's where it kind of lessens the forgetting part. Like you're not going to forget it, but it hurt less this time. So, you're on your way to healing when it gets to that point.
I don't think you're supposed to forget. Like, who forgets when someone hurts them? I still remember having a crush on somebody in 3rd grade and he didn't like me back. And every time I see him now, I'm like, boy, we're supposed to be together. That was 3rd grade. So, I had the biggest crush on Charles Owens. But I'm like, we're not supposed to forget. I don't want to forget. It's just how we move forward. So whenever I'm having a moment or if there is a trigger, then what helps is when I say, give me your phone or give me this or give me that or let me see this, let me see that. That's what helps because it's reassuring me that you can text someone and it's not a female or it's not another situation. So, and I know it's difficult for him because I'll wake up and be like, oh, hell no. Did your phone just go off? And then it'd be my phone. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, my bad. So you're not supposed to forget, but it's like there's always that trigger or there's always that reminder. And with social media, it's so easy. It's actually easier to cheat for both men and women, not just the women. So I don't want to forget. I don't want him to forget because he may get comfortable. So I'm going to bring it up every now and then. Even if we're having a good time, I'm like, oh, what's up? What's her name? I'm going to bring it up. It's cool. But it's how we move forward because I'm going to let you know, oh, yeah, homeboy, I remember. Hell, yeah, I saw a car look like hers. So I'm going to bring it up every single time. But how he handles it and how he deals with it. And now we laugh about it. So I think it's just the more we put it out there, he's comfortable in that space. I'm comfortable. We talk about it, we laugh, and we move on. But I ain't gonna let him forget. I'll write a name on a post-it and put it on the bathroom mirror. I ain't gonna let her forget. We ain't finna forget, because see, we're not gonna do this again. You
Okay.
forget. It's like it didn't matter. Oh, it didn't matter because it changed everything for us. So we ain't forgetting. No, we ain't forgetting, but it's about how we deal with it and how we move on and the conversation. And I'm more comfortable, you know. I'm okay with it. So I don't think we're ever supposed to forget, but I do think to be rebuild the trust, that's a long journey. Even with counseling, it takes a long time. And you have to ask yourself sometimes, is it worth it? Is it even worth it? Sometimes you say it's easy to start over with someone else, but then when you look at it, you're like, you know what? Half of them out here like that. So you might as well keep what you got. But that's a whole nother subject. But yeah, I don't think you're supposed to forget. That's my take.
I agree. I don't think you're supposed to forget, but I think that the lack of forgetting is not necessarily for your partner, that you're supposed to be forgiving. I think that's for you. Um, I think that, if you're going to forgive and move forward, I think that it's just going to be healthier to, try and forget. And so when I say try and forget, I mean, like, don't hold them hostage to it, because then you're hurting the chances of moving forward effectively if you're constantly reminding them of whatever the trauma is. It's supposed to exist because it's a trauma, and you're supposed to remember, but the reminder doesn't have to be, a reminder for your partner if you're telling them that you're going to forgive them. Well,
I agree. I think that forgetting shouldn't happen. Um, I think because we always got to have constant reminders of things that we've overcome, and when we overcome things, and it's reminders to us of, I've been there before, and I'm not trying to go back, and I'm not trying to and then also if it's something that you're moving forward in your relationship, it got to be moments where you see, we you know we overcame that together, and then you see the growth in it. We came from that place, and we here we are now here, kind of thing. But the forgetting part for me is the hard part, though, because you during the healing process, it's tough because it's constantly playing over in your mind, and you don't want it. You don't want to remember it. You don't want to keep knowing it. And especially if the other person wants you to just quickly forget it as if it never happened, because they already moved past it or whatever. And you want to process everything, like, no, I want to process my feelings and emotion because it's valid, and I want to make sure that how I'm feeling about such and such, because I don't want this to ever happen again, kind of thing. And so so we have to be conscious of how we deal with those things, so when triggers do happen later, um it's not ticking off a ticking time bomb. It's like, oh, here we go with that. We've been through this before. Or nope, that's not going to happen, because you know I've seen this before. Let's go and kind of nip this in the bud, because I see where this is going, or whatever. So, but we got some comments. Let me read these comments. April Moss McGee said, you definitely have to be mentally ready and prepared when approaching this type of situation. And I agree. Jada said, that's real. Brina Care says, when trust is broken, deciding whether to forgive and forget is a deeply personal choice that depends on many factors. I agree. You definitely got to weigh a whole lot of things in that. April McGee also says revisiting the past means you're not moving forward. Yep. If you keep
Exactly.
revisiting, that means you're not moving forward. You reliving that thing. Carmen Taylor Jr. said you have to forgive and honestly allow the person who broke the trust show they are trustworthy again. It's a day by day process, and some days will be harder than others, but you keep moving forward. But I think it's on the man to put forth the effort. Every girl, say that again. It's on the man or on the person who broke the trust,
Yeah.
to put forth the effort. Put forth the effort every day to gain that trust back from his woman. You don't forget, but you have to act as if you forgot, because if you keep bringing it up, you're not trying to heal. Girl, that's it right there. Yeah. That is it right there. So, we are past our hour, but I want to give some last minute remarks and give you guys an opportunity to do some last minute remarks before we close out. I really do appreciate all of you guys coming on the panel today. I hope you guys, if we get an opportunity to do the women's panel again, that you guys think about coming back and being with us again. I'm going to let you go around the room and let you guys do some last minute remarks, and anything that you want to chime in, give last minute remarks to the audience on what you view as some good nuggets or some things that you want to just put out there, or just, some input from the today's podcast. So I'll start with you, Tamika and Miss Rita, and we'll go around the room.
I had to step out, y'all. My baby was crying. Thank you for having me on the show. As soon as I was in there, the husband started talking. He was like, I heard you in there talking about me. Did you tell him I work 7 days a week and then come home and cook? I'm like, oh, shut up. But yes, it was great. This podcast was great. I enjoyed you ladies. It's been very informative. It's Rita and Vicky, Tequila, Vonda and Jaleesa, and of course, Shan. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to the next one. I miss what the ending part was, because like I said, we picked the baby up on Halloween. I ordered her off of Shein. So she's here. So she cried. I had to run in there and go get her right quick. So sorry I missed the last portion, but thank you for having me. This has been very informative, and I hope everything works out, that everyone has some nuggets to take back from this. And for me, it was great hearing from Miss Vonda and sharing with the other ladies' experience, because one of them said, I can't remember which one of you mentioned communication. And I started thinking, like, do I communicate like more? Like when someone said more communication, and I was like, do I communicate enough? I don't know. Because with me, I talk so much at work. When I come home, I don't feel like talking. So I was like, maybe I should try that. So thank you for whoever, I can't remember who said it, but thank you for that. I appreciate it. That's my takeaway. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Miss Rita?
Oh, thank you for having me. I enjoyed the conversations. And by this being my first podcast, I held back a lot, and I've learned some things to think more rationally, because some of the things I wanted to say, but I was, ready to say it, because I don't know. My way of thinking is sort of different than most women. I learned some things today, so I learned a lot of things to think about. So maybe the next time I'll be more prepared and not so afraid to express myself. Like
Look, don't ever be afraid. Share like your thoughts and your opinions. Your perspective is always, share that, because everybody brings their different perspectives, and that's what we want.
Okay.
So always be expressive on what you think and what you want to share.
Okay, I learned.
No problem. Jaleesa?
I just want to say I'm really grateful for being able to be here with y'all tonight. I know I didn't say much because, for one, I am a listener, and for two, I am young, so a lot of things I couldn't really express too many things because I don't know too much. I know, but I just want to say that I am grateful, and I did learn, to listen to some of the qualities to look for in a man. Even though I thought I knew something, but I ain't know too much, but y'all was telling me a little bit. But I just want to say I'm grateful, and I hope I get the opportunity to be here again and to listen. Maybe in the audience because I will listen, but not so much as the panel. Maybe I don't know.
Look, every Sunday at 5 p.m. Come join us. Well, thank you. We're glad to have you. Miss Vonda.
I just want to say thank you, Shane, for the invite. Being married for 30 years, sometimes I tend to get comfortable, but I want to thank the panel for their input. I'm taking away nuggets from everybody. I want to thank the chat for commenting. And I'm going to leave on a good note, knowing that I still got some work to do. And at the end of the day, although we disagreed on some topics, it was agreeably. And I just feel like we all got work to do, and we're still growing.
Yeah.
So thank y'all.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Miss Vicky.
Thank you. So I would like to say thank you to the panel and to Miss Shen for having me here. It was nice being here, and it was quite informative and educating as well. And also probably next time we'll do better. But like she said, there's a lot of work to do on a personal, individual place. So we should put in the work, make sure we're getting better, we're growing, we're developing ourselves because the aim is to be better than where you were yesterday. So yeah.
I love it. And Vicky, you're what, 30?
Yes, ma'am.
Girl, you got some wisdom in you.
Thank you.
And my co-host, my wonderful co-host, Miss Tequila.
Hey, ladies, thank you all for joining the panel. I do believe that, we all can learn from each other as well as, the men can, learn some things from us and we can learn some things from them as well. But I appreciate the value added information. Reader, for one, is someone that I admire and, have done so for, over a decade. And so, never shy away from, sharing your valuable insight because, what you may feel like is minimal or not as impactful, someone else, it may be very valuable for them. So, I enjoyed, co-hosting today and listening to all of you ladies, and hope that the men got some of their questions answered and can take away some information that can help them evolve in their relationships.
Right. Look, and I second that. Thank you, ladies. It was a pleasure having you guys on today and setting the standard for our very first women's panel, and being the legacy of it. So I do welcome you guys to come back. If we definitely have another women's panel, and you guys are definitely welcome back as our panel members. Like you guys are the established panel right now, so we certainly will hope that you guys will come back on the panel. We definitely want to leave you guys with a gift from Chit Chat Podcast, so make sure we get your contact information. Please send that to Jada, so we can send you guys a gift from Chit Chat Podcast for being part of our panel on today, because we appreciate you guys. So we want to send you guys a appreciative gift from us for that. But we definitely appreciate your input. And like Tequila said, everybody input is valuable. You never know what you say might hit the heart of what somebody else is dealing with, or what they might take as valuable to what they're needing at that time. And so, and and I don't have everything. I don't have all the right things to say. Just because I provide the platform for this, I don't always have the right things to say. So this is an opportunity when I bring people like you guys on. It gives you guys an opportunity to provide input as well. So, there's a part in here that I'm dealing with, so I wasn't able to give no input on that. I was taking nuggets in from you guys on that portion because I need that. So, and so it was valuable for me. So everything that you guys were providing, I was taking in and soaking that up. So I appreciate you guys giving that input, doing that portion. So, in our audience, are chiming in saying great panel and discussions. Another one said 30 years. That's awesome, Ms. Vonda, for your marriage. Great. Another one said great panel and conversation and great panel and discussion with hand claps. So you guys should give yourself a hand clap for today. We definitely celebrate you guys for being our very first women. And I hope that you men out there in the audience enjoyed the conversation today. I hope it opened a dialogue that you guys can have with women, your marriages, your relationships, anything that you're enduring that are necessary that you need to have, whether it's communication, reading and understanding that woman, or the things that you need to understand when it comes to women, love languages, all that kind of stuff. So don't be afraid to open that dialogue with your person. So these women have provided you with some nuggets today that you can take back to start that process. So we will hope that we'll be able to provide you guys some guidance later and bring these women back on so we can do this again later, probably in 2025, the beginning of the year. So with that being said, we appreciate you guys joining us again for another episode of Chit Chat Pod, where we chat all things women. We will see you guys next Sunday live at 5, where we will be joining for another episode. So we will see you guys next week. Have a good one. Have a great week, guys.
Good night, everybody.
All right.